Well, hello once again, my friends, my fellow historians, and my fellow lovers of the RMS Titanic. I'd like to welcome you to another video, and this is Titanic month, April 2025, and this marks the 113th anniversary of the sinking of the absolutely beautiful RMS Titanic. Today's video is not going to be so much about Titanic herself, but there are going to be several stories that kind of tie into her. I'll let you be the judge. I titled this Outrageous Titanic Conspiracy Theories, and some of them do seem a little far-fetched, but I'll let you decide. You judge for yourself. And I got this from the History Channel, and I thought this is a really interesting article. If you want to read more on it, I'll put the link in the description. So let's take a look. We know the history about Titanic. Late in the evening of April 14th, 1912, the RMS Titanic hit an iceberg and sank into the icy waters of the North Atlantic. 1,517 of the 2,223 passengers and crew members aboard were lost. To make sense of the tragedy, seeming random disaster, people over the past century have told stories of ominous signs of bad luck that were supposedly ignored beforehand, or spun elaborate conspiracy theories to explain the real reason she sank, and that's what we're going to look at today. Theory number 1. J.P. Morgan planned a disaster to kill his rivals. According to this theory, millionaire banker J.P. Morgan planned the Titanic disaster to kill off rival millionaires Jacob Astor, Isidor Straus, and Benjamin Guggenheim, all who perished aboard Titanic that night. The theory hinges on the fact that Morgan had originally planned to sail on the Titanic, but changed his mind shortly before it took off. Yet it doesn't offer any explanation of how he caused the ship to hit an iceberg and kill over 1,500 people, let alone the 3 men he supposedly targeted for death. The theory claims Morgan wanted to kill them because they opposed the creation of the Federal Reserve, even though Astor and Guggenheim didn't appear to have taken a position on it, and Strauss actually supported it. Alternative versions of this theory claim the Rothschild banking family, the Jesuits, were the ones who arranged Astor, Strauss, and Guggenheim's death on Titanic, invoking the Rothschilds as international conspirators as a centuries-old anti-Semitic trope. The Rothschild family founded banking houses across Europe in the early 1800s, and they have been a favorite target of conspiracy theorists ever since. This theory resurfaced recently, a far-right conspiracy theory detailing a supposed secret plot by an alleged deep state against U.S. President Donald Trump and his supporters, of course. So, theory number 2, the Titanic never sank. People seem to love a good insurance fraud story, so maybe it's unsurprising that the conspiracy theory is one of the Titanic's most popular ones. This one posts that someone switched the Titanic with another White Star Line ship, mainly the RMS Olympic. But as Paul Burns, vice president and curator for the Titanic Museum attractions in Missouri and Tennessee, points out, it just doesn't make sense. The theory starts with the fact that the Olympic was damaged while sailing from Southampton, England to New York in September of 1911. She had to return to Harland & Wolff shipping yards in Belfast for repairs, and yes, that is true. The company repaired the Olympic and it sailed to New York and back. It returned to Belfast for more repairs in March of 1912, a few weeks before the Titanic set sail. The conspiracy claims that some person or people found that the Olympic too severely damaged to be profitable, and so at some point they switched the Titanic to the Olympic, and the switch ditched the damaged ship, reaped the insurance money, and it seemed killed a bunch of people in the process. There are a lot of holes in this theory, But one of the biggest is the Titanic's insurance wasn't enough to cover the Olympics loss. Another one is the mummy's curse doomed the Titanic. One of the passengers who went down with the Titanic was William Stead, a British editor who subscribed to early 20th century spiritualism and had spent the past several years claiming a cursed mummy was causing mysterious destruction and disaster in London. As with other myths about Egyptian curses and Native American burial grounds, this myth played off the colonialists' anxiety about the people whose land they had plundered. On board the Titanic, Stead Happy repeated his tale, the mummy's curse, and to other passengers aboard. After the ship sank, the survivor recounted Stead's story to the New York World, and the media picked it up. The next month, the Washington Post ran his headline, "Ghost of the Titanic, Vengeance of Hoodoo Mummy Followed Man Who Wrote His History." Burns says some people link to the mummy's curse to Egyptian artifacts that survivors and hero Margaret Brown really did take with her on the Titanic to deliver to a museum in Denver. In other versions of the story, the mummy was actually aboard the Titanic because the British Museum has sold it to an American who was shipping it home. But the truth is, this so-called unlucky mummy is still the British Museum. And no mummy was ever loaded onto the ship. It was an iceberg, not a curse that sank Titanic. Next up, the ship's numbers read "No Pope" backwards. One myth posts that Catholic employees of Harland and Wolff, the Belfast company that built Titanic, were distressed that the ship's number 390904 seemed to say "No Pope" when viewed in a mirror. This was a sign of bad luck that foretold the ship's doom? No. The late Titanic historian Walter Lord wrote that he received letters from people in Ireland replying this "No Pope" story beginning of the mid-1950s, yet, as Burns pointed out, the 1986 book The Night Lives On, there was no such number attached to the Titanic. The hull number painted on the ship was number 401, the same as its yard number at Harland and Wolff, and its Board of Trade number was 131428. Not even one of its numbers had read "No Pope." There weren't any Catholic workers at Harland and Wolff for it to upset. The company had driven its Catholic employees away in the late 1800s, and by the 20th century, Harland and Wolff had a reputation only for employing Protestants. Despite this reality, Paul Burns of the Titanic Museum attractions in Missouri and Tennessee says that visitors still occasionally ask about this myth. And lastly, this one isn't so much about the ship, but a movie related to the ship. I'm talking about James Cameron's 1997 masterpiece, Titanic. This myth says that Jack Dawson, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, is actually Jay Gatsby. And Caprio also played Gatsby. Okay, this one is actually about the 1997 Titanic movie, and it's a fan theory, but still there is a theory on the internet that Leonardo DiCaprio's character in Titanic and his character in The Great Gatsby are the same person. The movie is obviously an alternative timeline where he survived the sinking of the ship and went on to build a life for himself in America in an attempt to reunite with Rose. He survives, builds himself into a party-going showman in a jazz age in hopes that Rose will one day appear, but ends up finding love with another woman, Daisy. Because this is one about fictional characters in film, it isn't something we can prove or disprove. We'll leave it up to you to decide if Jack is real or The Great Gatsby. So my friends, those were just some of the most outrageous Titanic conspiracy theories that I could find, and I figured I'd just share it with you. And again, leave it to your judgment. Do you believe it? Do you not believe it? Leave a comment below, and I'll talk to you guys real soon. you.